Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to tackle a topic that has been of very much interest to me, but it's also a trending topic and is probably going to be of interest to many of you. This is the idea that AI is going to replace architects. When AutoCAD first came out, that's a drafting software for architects. A lot of architects thought the same thing, that 20, 30 years later, AutoCAD hasn't replaced architects, but instead has become a very, very useful tool, as many other drafting programs have, that basically made an architect's job a lot easier. Now, it may have replaced what is the draftsman, or it may have replaced the function of drafting in a great extent. Some architects don't even draw by hand anymore. Over time, the technology will become so useful that it will not necessarily replace architects, but it will certainly change the way that architects do their job. AI, the way I see it, will be a tool, completely change the way that us architects do our jobs. I think the human factor is always going to need to be there. After all, it's going to be humans that will occupy buildings. And so humans are the ones that are going to need to have that dialogue as to what needs to happen. And playing with AI for the last couple of weeks, seems like we still have to be the ones that create the prompt. We have to tell AI, this is what I need, and then it will shoot back something based on what your request is. All right, folks, so the first thing I want to do is go through a list of things that today, in 2023, AI believes that it can help architects with. And the way I worded my question is, what are the most helpful things that you can help an architect do, is to see what the AI believes that it can do in assisting, or in actually basically doing what an architect does, right? So it's a great list, and I'll go through it one by one. So for the introduction to this video, what I want to do is, the first thing is identify what are some of the things AI can do. And I can now basically today, 2023, I can ask AI, what can you do? So the way I worded the question is, hi, what are some of the most helpful things you can help an architect do? The AI's response is, as an AI language model, I can assist architects in various ways. Here are some of the most helpful things I can help you with. Now, I'm going to go through these 8 things, but I want you to remember something. These are also things that the AI can basically do in place of an architect. Number 1, design and concept development. I can provide ideas and suggestions for architectural design, space planning, and concept development based on your requirements and preferences. You can describe your vision or provide specific details, and I can help you refine and expand upon those ideas. Wow. I mean, that's basically what I would tell a client, right? A client comes to me and says, hey, I want to design a new house. And I'm going to, say exactly this. So number 2, technical information. I can provide information on architectural principles, building materials, construction techniques, and industry standards. If you have questions about specific building codes or regulations, I can help clarify those as well. Interesting, because we are actually, two of the things that we're going to explore dwell right into this topic, number 2, on technical information. It's going to be very interesting. Number 3, 3D modeling and visualization. I can assist in creating 3D models for visualizations of architectural designs. You can describe the project, and I can help you generate visual representations or provide guidance on software tools and techniques for creating accurate models. Now, this one is one that is probably going to be in the forefront of development in the next months, in the next years. It's basically what AutoCAD does today, or Revit, or SketchUp, or any of these programs. But us architects still have to be sort of behind the wheel, telling it what to do, right? So I did an exercise where I've asked it to create a 3D visualization, and we're going to show that that'll be the third thing I show today. It'll be at the end of the video. Material selection is number 4. I can suggest suitable materials for various architectural elements, considering factors such as aesthetics, durability, sustainability, and cost effectiveness. If you have specific requirements or constraints, I can help you explore different options. Now, that's going to be an interesting one, maybe for another video. But again, this is what architects do. It's not telling me I'm gonna help you do this. It's telling me like this is what an architect does, is select materials. Is something that we do on a day to day. So it's also a great way for us to define, okay, well, what does an architect actually do? And it's such a wonderful tool in that sense, right? It can really, put together a bullet point list for you to relay those messages to the clients. Number 5, sustainable design. So the AI says I can provide guidance on incorporating sustainable practices into architectural design, such as energy efficient strategies, passive design techniques, green building materials, and renewable energy systems. I can also assist with certifications like LEED, which is the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Now that one's interesting. But again, something architects do, and there are some architects that are certified LEED. So it'd be interesting to see how AI develops that aspect, right? The LEED aspect of things. Number 6, building systems. I can offer insights into mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems and their integration within architectural designs. This includes lighting design, HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, electrical layouts, and plumbing considerations. I'm really not sure how it would manage to do that. This is something that, we are just scratching the surface. So how does AI believe that it's able to put together an MEP set of drawings, or analyze them? That's going to be very interesting. There are BIM software programs out there. BIM is building information modeling, and there are programs out there that allow you to model things in real time in 3D. But how does AI incorporate itself into being able to guide that? Number 7, code compliance. I can help you understand and navigate building codes and regulations specific to your location. Whether you have questions about accessibility standards, fire safety requirements, and we're going to touch on that one. Zoning regulations, I can provide general information to assist you. So that one kind of goes back to technical information in a way, but we are actually going to look at code compliance. We're going to look at two very different things in the exercises we're going to do. Research and inspiration. If you're looking for architectural references, historical examples, or contemporary trends, I can help you with research and provide relevant information and examples to inspire your designs. So again, these 8 things are such great selling points of not only what AI can do for us as architects. These are great selling points of what we can present to potential clients as architects, of where is the value in what we do. And at the end, the AI says, remember that while I can provide valuable assistance, it's always important to consult with experienced professionals and experts in the field for specific architectural projects and local regulations. So the AI is saying, I can help you, but you need to still consult with an actual architect. Well, thank you. I then move on to ask it a code question, and that's going to be what we're going to do next. The following code question took me a couple of tries. Now, how I came to this one is I thought about a task that as an architect took me about half a day to do. And I wanted to see how well AI could do this same task that takes an architect, 3-4 hours to do within seconds, right? So here's the question. And I had to do it a few times until I got the question to a point where trying to get a yes or no answer, and also trying to get an answer that could reference where it was getting its information from. Question is an exhaust hood required for an exterior grill in a covered terrace? With residential architecture, not commercial, residential architecture, a lot of times I have clients that want an outdoor kitchen, and in that outdoor kitchen they want to put a grill. And when it's a covered terrace, I always tell them that the grill needs to have a hood. A few years ago, I had a builder kind of push back on this and say, why, where's the requirement for this? And I had to really dig into the code, okay? So I'm going to tell you what I did after I tell you how AI responded to this question. In just a matter of seconds, AI, even though I asked it a yes or no question, it gave me a sort of lengthy, very generic answer. Building code requirements can vary depending on the specific jurisdiction and local regulations. However, in general, The installation of an exhaust hood for an exterior grill on a covered terrace may be required or recommended for safety and ventilation purposes. The purpose of an exhaust hood is to capture and remove smoke, grease, and other byproducts of cooking. By having an exhaust hood, you can help prevent the accumulation of smoke and odors in the covered terrace, as well as minimize the risk of fire hazard. That's right. To determine the specific requirements for an exhaust hood in your area, I recommend checking with your local building department or relevant authorities. They will have access to the most up-to-date building codes and regulations applicable to your location. It's important to comply with local codes to ensure the safety of your property and its occupants, as well as to avoid potential legal or insurance-related issues. So, in a way, I'm like, yeah, AI, I know that. That's all very general. My common sense says not only for smoke, but the fact that we are in an environment that's enclosed, and when you're grilling, there could be a flame that just gets out of control. So the hood will be there to protect it. It's something that's protecting the fire or the heat even from reaching the ceiling. What I'm trying to do is see if the AI can give me a very specific answer, because I want to be able to tell the builder or the general contractor or the client, here's why you have to put a hood in that terrace. So I asked it, what does NFPA say about this? NFPA being the National Fire Protection Association. So its answer was, NFPA provides guidelines and standards related to fire safety, including provisions for outdoor cooking and grilling. While the NFPA does not specifically address the requirements of an exhaust hood for an exterior grill in a covered terrace, they do provide general recommendations for outdoor cooking safety. So it's true, and this is why I say it took me, a long time relatively to really find the yes or no answer to this question, because the NFPA doesn't specifically say if the grill is in an outdoor terrace, and then it continues to say basically just general information. So, as an architect, if we ask it this question, if we just want to kind of spend 5 minutes, ask it the question, everything's leaning towards yes, you need an exhaust hood. And at that point, you can pretty much say, look, we're gonna need an exhaust hood because 1, we have an open flame, 2, we have smoke that needs to be controlled, and 3, it's an enclosed area in a way. Sure, it's an open terrace, so there's a breeze, but the more reason that the wind could make that flame become higher. So here is when I finally did this a few years ago. I went in and I first started, of course, with the residential building code. It basically told me to go to NFPA, and NFPA 101, it kind of touched on, in fact, even also NFPA 96, exhaust hood requirements, basically when you have open flame. And it didn't quite say if it's an outdoor grill or if it's a covered terrace. So I then dwelled deeper into the code and more into things like mechanical and appliances, and codes that reference those things, specifically appliances. And I was able to find that today, actually, look, Georgia state minimum standards for 1 and 2 family dwellings. So this is now specifically to residential. And what it says in section M1505, okay, so that's going to be chapter 15, section M1505, overhead exhaust hoods. And what it basically says is that anytime you have, and I say anytime because it doesn't specify if it's indoor, outdoor, it doesn't specify if it's covered, not covered. What it says is you have a domestic open top broiler unit shall have a metal exhaust hood. So, once I got this piece of information, I was able to send that off to the contractor and say, look, the way the code basically, when you get down into the details, it says if you have an open flame, in other words, an open broiler unit, you need to have an exhaust hood. And, we could have in 5 minutes with AI said, hey, everything's pointing towards yes. Why would you risk it? And instead, it takes, 3-4 hours for an architect to be able to cite. Now, I will say that the AI has never been able to give me a specific citation on a specific part of the code. And we're going to go into another topic right now that is also kind of code related. or is code related, but it starts to get into design, and you'll see more about what I mean as it not being able to really give specifics just yet. Okay, folks, so for this second part, we're going to look at design as well as code. And when we're designing a multifamily building or a commercial building at larger scale, or even a townhouse complex, things like that, we need to basically lay out how the roads are going to work in such a way that it accommodates delivery trucks, but more importantly, it accommodates fire apparatus. So a fire department ladder truck is how you may recognize it. When you look it up in the code, it's going to always read as fire apparatus. And basically it's, those trucks that have the long fire ladders, and they need to be able to access pretty much as many parts of the building as possible. When you read the code, there's going to be things like, if you have a 5-story building, it needs to be able to rescue people all along the one side of that building. The code regulates how big that building can be before it's defined as 2 buildings. There's a lot of things that go into understanding a commercial project to that extent. So what I did is I wanted to see if the AI could basically tell me what are all of the requirements in designing such a road, and that way I can quickly and easily design the roads instead of having to research or learn all of these things over the course of an entire week. And I say that meaning as you're designing it and you're looking at your building versus the roads you're designing it along with it, you basically have to look at all these different parts of the code as far as, getting in and out of the development, getting in and out of the buildings. So amazingly enough, the AI, when asked, was able to come back to me and give me some very general guidelines, but pretty much nailed all the different points. What it couldn't do is it couldn't give me real specifics. And when you're designing, you need to be able to be very specific. You need to know, if I can do 20, why are you telling me 26? When we're limited with space constraints in building footprints and in the size of the property, the lots, we can't have these variables. If 20 is the minimum, then I need to know that 20 is the minimum. However, the AI does not quite tell you that. It does, however, give you, some general specifics. So as an architect, you could say, well, if these are the minimums, then I'm going to design everything based on that. So let's dive right into this. On this next one, I basically asked the AI as follows, and I was trying to keep it very specific on the things I needed. I've already, of course, done the research. I am familiar with the topic and have designed at least one or more than one of these types of roadways. Of course, as an architect, we do pass this on to a civil engineer who then does the actual civil drawings to ensure it's all in compliance with your local fire marshal. In fact, as an architect, we sit down and meet and speak with the local fire marshal, to review the design and to make sure that all of the things that they need are being addressed. So these are all things the AI cannot do. It cannot physically appear at the fire marshal's office or the local building department. Definitely minimize the amount of time that it takes architects to do certain tasks. Okay, so this is me talking to the AI. Okay, let's try a code question. I'm designing a multifamily building for downtown Alpharetta. The building will need fire apparatus access, and the reason I'm telling it where is because I want to see if the AI will stop telling me things like, well, based on your location and check your local building codes. No, I'm telling you where I'm located. So let's see if it has the ability to be more specific. The building will need fire apparatus access to several parts around the building. I am now going to prepare a preliminary site plan that shows the main access road around the building as it comes in from the street and back out to the street. For this question, do not worry about the drop-off area, the parking, or access to the garage. So I'm saying that because I don't want it to give me this lengthy thing about how I need to be able to park trucks and cars and handicap spaces and all this stuff, okay? So only worry about the fire apparatus truck, its requirements to enter the property and reach all parts of the building as required by code. I need to specifically know the following: how wide to make the entrance at the street, how wide to make the lanes that go around the building, the internal radius for any turn that the fire apparatus truck will use. So that means when I draw a left turn or a right turn, I need to know the radius of that internal curb. It's something that we have to be able to know, because that could put your road further from the building, closer to the building. Like you could, have some constraints there. So it's good to know what that minimum is. And number 5, how far from the building to make the access lane. So when I draw these lanes, what is the separation between the wall of the building and the curb? So the AI's response is: when designing the fire apparatus access for your multifamily building, here are the key considerations and requirements. So number 1, entrance width at the street. The width of the entrance street should be wide enough to accommodate the fire apparatus truck. The specific width will depend on the requirement of the local fire department and fire code regulations. I've told you we're in Alpharetta. Typically, a minimum width of 20 to 26 feet, 6 to 8 meters is recommended to allow for safe and convenient access. See, this is the issue I have right now. How do you say minimum of 20 to 26? If the minimum is 20, there is no 20 to 26. It's a minimum of 20 feet. So AI still has some things to work through. If it tells me 20 to 26, well, that means I can make it 26 feet, and now I've created more asphalt that there needs to be for the project. Anyways, number 2, the lane width. The lanes within the access road should be wide enough to accommodate the fire apparatus truck and allow for smooth movement. The recommended minimum width for single lane traffic is typically 12 feet. That's right. However, it is advisable to consult local fire codes and regulations, as they may have specific requirements for fire apparatus access lanes. Now, I'm going to stop for a second. Why am I making this video? I am testing its comparison of it going and doing research, or its ability to pull these codes, because what takes time is us having to look and dig for things like this. So when we have to research code, we have to go through different books. Nowadays we could use our codes online, muni codes, up codes, all those things, but it takes time to dig for these things. So it's not great that it tells me it needs to be 12 feet, but then it says, well, go check. Right. I will say it at the least gives me a starting point, right? So if I needed to do a quick schematic, I think I would feel comfortable with doing things with 12 feet wide lanes that could then be adjusted, down to 11 or up to 13, because I found out in the code. But I'm not going to be able to tell my client or my boss, hey, I made them 12 feet because it's what the AI told me that it, was typical. No, it's unacceptable. It needs to be referenced to a specific code. Number 3 was the internal turn radius. And here's a response: fire apparatus truck needs to navigate turns within the site. I think this is repeating my question back as an answer. The internal turn radius will depend on the size of the apparatus truck being used. So typically a minimum of turning radius of 25 to 30 feet is recommended for the smooth movement of fire trucks. Again, it is crucial to check with local fire codes and the regulations of specific requirements. That means that my minimum is 25 feet, which is fine. You add the 12 feet to that, you're going to be at a radius of 37 feet. And so that gives you a diameter of 74 feet. And so it's basically saying that with a 74-foot diameter, you can have a full circle turnaround, which is interesting because the required full circle turnaround is actually much wider. It's like 90 feet. So not sure how that works, the math, but anyways, we're just talking about making a left or a right turn at this point. I did ask number 4, what is a radius for a full circle turn? I might have skipped that earlier on. The radius for a full circle turn. In some cases, fire apparatus trucks may need to perform a full circle turn within the site. The minimum radius required for a full circle turn depends on the size of the fire apparatus truck. Generally, a radius of 40 to 50 feet is recommended to ensure adequate maneuverability. Confirm the specific requirements with the local fire department. So what I have found is that it's a 45-foot radius, which then makes it a 90-foot diameter. And this would be on point, I think, with the internal radius being 25, but yet the full turn radius being 40. There is some question there, and we could dig into the building code, but at the least, I think what I would do is, if I was designing this, I'd go with their max minimum, whatever that means. So if they say it's 20 to 26, I'm gonna start at 26. If they say it's 40 to 50, I'm gonna start with 50 because I want the best result. Distance from the building was my last one, and it says the access lane should be located at a safe distance from the building to allow for fire apparatus truck to approach and operate efficiently. The recommended minimum distance between the building and the access lane is typically around 15 feet. That one was right on point. However, it's important to consult local fire codes and regulations. They may have specific requirements for this. So I wonder what there is in the code that allows it to say is exactly 15 feet and not give me something like it needs to be somewhere between a minimum of 15 to 20. And it's funny because minimums and maximums, right? And so for 15 feet, with this specific question, you can be too far from the building and it doesn't give me too much of a variance. So maybe if it told me you can be 15 to 20, well, maybe now 20 feet is too far away, right? And so in this one is tricky, and it's interesting that it only gave back one number. And then it says additional design considerations. This is all from the AI. Provide clear signage and markings to guide the fire apparatus truck through the access road. Those are all great things that come into the civil design, the civil plan. Ensure the access road is free of any obstructions such as trees, poles, other structures may hinder from movement of the fire apparatus truck. Of course, that's all in designing building footprints and things like that. Consider the overall site circulation, including potential conflicts with pedestrian and vehicular traffic, and provide appropriate traffic control measures if necessary. So that also goes back to the things I asked it to omit, which are things like parking, garages, delivery, things like that. Adequate lighting should be provided along the access road to ensure visibility during emergencies. And of course, as it always does, remember to consult with local fire authorities and code officials to ensure compliance with specific regulations and requirements in for fire apparatus access design. I do like that it's very thorough. Even I can skip things and then have to come back to things. It doesn't skip anything. It goes item by item. So that's actually a huge benefit of things like AI. I have found it very helpful for writing summaries, things like emails, descriptions. It's become a very useful tool and time-saving tool already. For this last one, I basically took a home that I'm currently working on, the design of a home, and I asked the AI to provide the floor plan to see if it can do it. And I also asked it to do the exterior elevation to see if it can do it. Now, I did give it a sketch to start with for the exterior elevation because I needed something to build from. But as far as the floor plan, all I told it was what the requirements were. I asked ChatGPT to generate for me the prompt that I could input into a program, an AI rendering software or visualization software like Roomsketcher, that would then give me a floor plan. And here is the prompt, and you can see on the image we have double doors and missing doors, or there's doors that are going right into a sink. We've got two kitchens in a way. There's just a lot of wasted space. It's not very functional. I don't really see my great room. I don't even see the staircase. I don't even have the 2 floors. So this is as far as creating an image of a pretty picture. Like if you ask it to draw a dog or draw a fairy, it maybe gives you some pretty pictures like that. But Here, when I'm asking it to draw a floor plan, it's not quite there yet. So the main level, here's the prompt. Please create a 2D floor plan image for a 2-story home with the following specifications. The main level should have an open floor plan with a kitchen overlooking the great room. Okay, the kitchen is overlooking nothing in this plan. The great room should have a double height ceiling and a fireplace. I don't see a fireplace, and I can't tell if there's a double height ceiling from this drawing. There should be a guest bedroom on the main level that shares a bathroom with a powder room and full bath. So that guest bedroom that shares a powder room is not anywhere in this plan, or maybe it's the one on the bottom left. I can't tell. The main level should also include a foyer, a mudroom, and a full-size pantry. I think that that's probably where it got a little bit out of hand, where it's got this full-size pantry down at the bottom, or at least what looks like some kind of pantry area. Foyer, yeah, that seems to kind of be there off at the top. So it kind of nailed a few of those things, just maybe not in the way I would have designed it. The main level should have a 2-car garage. Well, there is no 2-car garage in this drawing. Second floor should feature a master suite with a master bedroom, his and hers walk-in closets. We totally missed that in this drawing. There should be an additional bedroom on the second floor. Again, we don't have the 2 floors, so I won't even get into talking about second floor things. The home should have an open staircase connecting the 2 floors. That's not there either. And that is basically where we are with the AI generated floor plans. But that is perhaps where architects are going to come in. Engineers are the ones behind AI today. And perhaps where architects are going to come in is we're going to teach artificial intelligence what we know and how to approach design from a geometrical standpoint, and not just from a graphics artistic standpoint, but from a space planning standpoint of what can be adjacent to what else. And I have no doubt that it will get there. I have no doubt that we will in short time, hopefully in my lifetime, and I say hopefully meaning that I would love to participate in this, or use it even to my benefit in designing, is we're going to be able to teach AI to generate a real floor plan, a real black and white drawing. And there are some apps out there, but for the sake of this video, I didn't use those apps. Those are the ones where you can tell it size of different rooms. I want a 12 by 12 foot bedroom. I want, this size kitchen, because I didn't see that quite as artificial. It's not quite AI. It's more that's somewhere in between AI and AutoCAD. Where in that case I would still be telling it exactly what to do, and that's not the idea. The idea is to be able to give it the requirements like a client would do to me, would tell me what they require in the floor plan. The client's not going to tell me what size to make everything. They're gonna just want it to be the right size, or expect for me to have the experience and knowledge to know what size to make things. The next thing I want to show you is the 3D rendering of the house. And I laugh because I put a sketch in. I'll have to show the sketch, but I put a sketch in. Here's the sketch of my visualization in 3D of this house, and this is what the AI gave me. And when I asked it for an interior, this was the interior that it produced. From a volume standpoint, it's right. From a finish and style standpoint, it is way off. This is the finish and style that I was looking for, or at least conceptually, not what the AI was able to give me back. I was looking for something modern. So I did put modern in the prompt for both of these. somehow it just gave me more of a storybook type drawing. This is my sketch, my visualization for the model of this house. It's a sort of A-frame on the roof, just making this trellis very clean cut, very dynamic as far as the angles, but also very holistic in that it's a single volume front to back, and it is going to be very modern in style and finishes. So we've got the metal roof coming down on the sides, so we've got that nice metallic finish on all sides, and again, very minimalistic. So the AI, however, made more of a sort of fairy tale type draft, just sort of cabin in Alaska looking. Now, in prompting AI, I did tell it to do something modern, but I also fed it my image. And the funny thing here is, I wonder if when a client looks at my sketch, they see that that's their interpretation. It starts to make me question things. I don't think that it is. I don't think that's quite the issue. Um, but let's look at the interior, right? So an interior, that's why pictures are so important. You know, an interior. This is taken from Instagram, and it's basically what my idea is as far as clean cut finishes, very modern. You know, lots of windows with just very clean, minimalistic trim, and yet the AI puts out this sort of cottagey Tudor cabin lodge looking thing. And I can assure you, I asked for modern, you know, things that would hopefully not give me this type of image, but it did. So it is at the least a good way to see how your words are interpreted, one, but what the AI you know, can put out. So I don't think, you know, we're quite at the point where AI is going to be able to design an interior or an exterior for a client without much more input and education from architects. So that was kind of the side by side on the design aspect of things. I think we'd be naive to believe that, you know, we are not going to at some point be using this tool at a great extent. But hopefully what it does is it allows us to build a lot more, design a lot more, and, you know, be able to take care of things like, you know, housing, affordable housing, you know, sustainability in buildings, all of these things. You know, we talk about AI being able to take care of things like climate change or adapting to climate change. Well, you know, if we as architects are able to be far more efficient, you know, this is one example of how perhaps that could be the case. You know, if we can use AI to more quickly do things that are zero carbon footprint, for example, or LEED certified, we're certainly moving in the right direction, because it is very time consuming, as you can see with my code examples. Research takes a lot of time, really honing in on the specifics of certain things, certain constraints can occupy us on things that could hopefully be done very quickly, very swiftly. Just like drafting would take days and days to draft one sheet, or even once we had AutoCAD, printing would take an entire day just to get the paper fed right and the pens to plot correctly. Now we can plot anything in an instant. So that all saves us time from tasks that will free us as architects to be able to spend more time problem solving and bettering our design and being able to provide services to a wider range of clients and more clients than before.